also cut down, phase out coal, gradually phase out coal. Also ensure that we use renewable energy, like solar, wind, and the rest, and biofuel, and also ensure that we protect our forests. And the nations of the world also to contribute annually $100 billion to ensure that this is being used to champion climate change activities. But a review of all this, prior to this conference, we've discovered that so many nations were not doing this. If we talk about cutting down of production of fossil fuel, let's look at Nigeria, for instance. Have we done that? No. Why have we not done that? Because crude oil is the mainstay of our economy. So if we cut down on that, what happens? And Nigeria is already on heavy loan. UAE, the same thing. Brazil, Argentina, in short, a leaked document by international media houses shows that nations have tried to lobby scientists prior to this conference to see how they can they will not emphasize on what was to be done. Like countries like UAE, Saudi Arabia said the scientists should try as much as possible to play down on fossil fuel, that fossil fuel can continue for decades. India, because India, the mainstay of the economy, the energy is, and even export is coal. That also says that coal can be used for several more years. And then we see countries like Brazil, Argentina, trying to lobby the scientists to ensure that dairy farming is not really being tampered with or spoken about, because that also we call that part of the system of farming emits methane. So much methane, one of the greenhouse gases that causes climate change. So the nations have not really achieved what was expected, and that is why there is a panic. That is why there is a kind of a shaking within the nations due to this conference. This conference revealed a lot of things. Even the $100 billion dollars mark that was expected to be generated, we have not seen it, and we have not seen it. Even actions to protect our forest in the different, especially Africa and other parts of South America that have forested regions of the world, have not been really put in place. So we can't say that the nations have really taken into consideration what was agreed to cut down climate change. And most of it have been called economic factors, and that because of what is happening in the world today.
I would love you to, before we go to this edition, the 26th edition of the Climate Change Action Conference, let's look at coming down to Cross River State. What would be your assessment of the projection to ensure that we fight climate change? Because we see government planting trees, we are looking out for the greenhouse, all of that. What's your take looking at Cross River State? Are we climate friendly?
When we look at the activities of government over a while, from 2015, when we had that conference, and then we saw our governor came up with different themes for the carnival, just to drive the message. We have seen tree planting activities being carried out. We have seen emphasis being placed on environmental protection. We have also seen the government trying as much as possible to attract international organizations and agencies into Cross River State, to also make use of our forests, to also generate revenue using our forest as a reference point that we are protecting the forest. So we need to also have also benefits from it. And we also seen like the superhighway, when it came up, it had a lot of issues, and these are environmental issues. So several organizational agencies, NGOs, and the rest tried as much as possible to drive the message that superhighway cannot be carried out, and because the road was supposed to pass through the forest. That corridor was supposed to be provided along the forest line, and the governor listened, and several actions were taken. And look at that project. Also, a lot of review were being taken. That shows the sensitivity of the government towards ensuring that climate change is being also managed here in Cross River State. Comparatively with other states of the federation. I say Cross River State is doing well. So it has to do with tree planting. You go around the state of Calabar, a lot of tree planting. Even local government areas were being encouraged. I remember my council also last year when there was tree planting activity being carried out there. So there are efforts, even early this year, there were tree planting activities. Green Carnival being carried out. So there are efforts. These efforts, we may not see the benefit immediately. It's the future. No, climate change is about the future. Climate is about the future. It's not what happens now, but what happens for a long period of time. 30 years is what we talk about climate. So any action we take today, in the next 30, the next 20 years, we now start seeing the benefits. That's why United Nations says everybody be conscious, carry on, no matter how little your action is, continue doing this. Let's see how we can manage our climate together.
Dr. Tita, this few days from now we'll be having the world gathered to review and also discuss further ways to take action against climate change. What are we hoping to see during this conference?
We are hoping to see about 200 nations of the world, with the head of governments and officials, NGOs, civil organizations, agencies are going to be gathering in Glasgow. The conference is tagged COP26, Committee of Parties of a Conference of Parties. This is the 26th edition. So tens of thousands of people will be gathered in Glasgow just to look at what was done. This year is very significant, as I said earlier, because of those commitments. And what was agreed during this Paris 2015 was, after every 5 years, let's come back, bring your plan. Let's see how we are faring. What we'll be seeing in this conference is going to be a lot of politics. Countries are going to come in to try to defend their actions. And we're supposed to have countries push for electric cars being produced. Also support companies to produce electric cars. But how many countries are actually doing that? They are not. We also phase out the use of coal. How many countries are really doing that? Phase out fossil fuel gathering. How many countries are really doing that? They are not. So we are going to see a lot of politics being played. We're going to see a lot of people, countries coming to defend themselves, trying to ask for the review of Paris agreement, just to see, because so many countries have not really taken action towards curbing climate change.
Let's get your message on. We know when we rolled our drums yesterday to celebrate the Climate Change Action Day, and let's get your message for Cross Riverians and indeed those watching us.
For those watching on Cross Riverians, yesterday I had a chat with a friend who said Nigeria. Climate change is not Nigeria's problem, that Nigeria's problem is politics, and we should rather discuss politics instead of climate change. But I had to educate him that climate change is real. So climate change is not a myth, it's not an imagination, it's not a fiction. Climate change is real. Climate is not something that is tangible, that you can feel. You might not be able to see and touch, handle it. It's not a statue. It's something that is almost unnoticed, but the manifestations are evident. The landslide, the flooding, the windstorm, diseases, infestation, the change in the rainfall pattern. Look at what is happening. We are supposed to have had rain stop towards second week of October. The rain is supposed to have gone, but today, look at the rain getting up to yesterday. Who knows today? It might still have rain, and for all indications, it might have rains up to November. These are all indications, evidence that the climate change is here with us. So everybody, every effort that you can do in your own little capacity, in your little corner, try as much as possible to ensure your action is environmentally friendly. Ensure you plant a tree or two, you cut down any tree, and manage the environment well. Let's live well for tomorrow. Thank you.
Definitely, that's the word. Let's live well for tomorrow. Dr. Tita Ekpe, climatologist and environmentalist, very regular guest on the show. Thank you very much for your time. Hope to have you some other time to talk more on climate change and the environment.
Thank you.
All right. So we're not done yet. It's still the Tuesday edition of our Good Morning Cross River. Do not go away. We'll be back with more. Stay